So I'm going to be analyzing the economic effect of the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. So in Division A, it essentially gives appropriations to different parts of the government, agriculture for SNAP expansion, as well as for USDA grants to U.S. territories that aren't covered by these normal SNAP benefits to give them nutritional assistance, to the IRS to implement tax credits that I'll talk about later, and to the VA, Health and Human Services, and Defense for COVID testing and services. Division B of this bill, nutrition waivers, expands the Meals Act and allows students that aren't in schools because of COVID to eat, and also expands SNAP waivers so that people who are temporarily suspended from work are able to eat as well. Division C, which is Emergency Family and Medical Leave Expansion Act, is pretty much saying that people who have to care for people who are getting COVID, or parents who have to care for kids that are no longer in person in schools and need to take care of them, employers are responsible for taking care or for paying them after the first 10 hours of this paid leave, this paid public health emergency leave. They're responsible for 2/3 of the wages, and they are also required to try and keep their jobs once they're able to return from the public health emergency. Division D, which is Emergency Unemployment Insurance Stabilization Act of 2020, it's expanding insurance. It's expanding unemployment benefits in states that meet certain requirements because they aren't that strong with their unemployment benefits in the first place, and people need more help in these states to live. Division E of this act is the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act, which is for people themselves who get COVID. Their full-time workers are entitled to 80 hours of paid sick leave, which is available immediately, but for use if the employee has to quarantine themselves because they're told by the government or health officials, or they're caring for people who have to quarantine, or because their school or child care provider is closed, and these employers are not allowed to take adverse actions against these people because they're paying them and they're on sick leave. Division F, which is health provisions, pretty much all of this division is talking about the fact that COVID testing is free, and then insurance companies and other health programs have to cover this testing costs, have to cover the testing costs for the people, and are not allowed to give them co-pays for them. And Division G of this bill is tax credits for these aforementioned employers that are having to cover these 80 hours of paid sick leave time, as well as other situations where these people so the government's giving them 100% tax credits for these payments themselves, and this also applies to people that are self-employed, and it's giving them tax credits as well. And then Division H is changing the budgetary effects, so it pretty much just moves the money around so that they can implement everything from the bill itself. So how this affects the economy is, in the first place, with Divisions A, B, C, with A, B, and D, and A, B, and D all are expansionary fiscal policy, where they're increasing government spending a good amount to try and help people get through this tough time, but also at the same time, this expansionary fiscal policy, hopefully these people will spend the money and boost the economy back up by reinvesting in it and helping out businesses that otherwise wouldn't be able to survive. Sections C and E are initially concerning because these employers may not want to keep employees on a full-time basis because they would have to be responsible for these payments in the first place. But that's where Section G's usefulness comes in. By giving these employers tax credits, it offsets the lower supply, the lower demand for these employers to have employees in the first place due to the financial constraints of these bills themselves to pay these people these paid sick leave. So that balances that out in essence. And then Division H is just moving money around in order to finance all of these bills in the first place, or fund all these divisions specifically.